All right, Kerry in Oklahoma City. Hello, Kerry.
Well, I was here listening to you talk relevantly about the credit ratings and the many companies that might be getting theirs reduced. Today, GE had their credit rating reduced for the first time ever since they were first rated in 1956 from AAA to AA plus by S&P. Now, they have not yet been reviewed by Moody's. You were talking about Moody's, and the other one, of course, is Fitch. If they get their credit rating reduced by Moody's, it's going to be a problem for them because that will eliminate them from the market of any sovereign wealth fund because they have to buy AAA rated. A lot of pension funds have to buy AAA rated, and if you're at least AAA rated by one of the three institutions, they can still deal with you. What's funny that happened today, though, GE stock shot up because I guess the analysis was, oh, God, we thought they were going to reduce them to B.
Right. Well, that when you said that, I thought they were going to be reduced damn near to the risky list. So
that's right, yeah.
That...
I was surprised. I think that's maybe why that there was the reaction like, oh, my, what, did they not see the other books were hiding under the table?
Right. Right. Well, exactly. And, you're absolutely right about anybody with a real fiduciary responsibility buying only AAA. But that's exactly how all these insurance companies got into trouble when in the 90s we claimed that derivatives could be AAA investments. So the reality is what's rated AAA now may be nothing but vaporware.
Absolutely. I think most of them are. We're down right now to 3 AAA-rated companies, one of which is Berkshire Hathaway.
Right.
That has lost 96%. 96%.
Right.
Since this time last year. Of course, it's run by Warren Buffett, so we can't reduce their credit rating. It's funny, too. It's very relevant what you say about the derivative stuff because that's exactly what Enron was doing. And they were a AAA-rated investment grade. Let's buy their bonds and back our pension funds up and our sovereign wealth with Enron.
Right. Right. So the idea that we're going to have this rating and it's going to protect us, this rating is a joke.
Yeah, I do agree. Two of the other groups, or I should say 2 groups of other people I was listening to Bloomberg today were commenting that they think next on the chopping block is Wells Fargo and J.P. Morgan Chase. And it's just yesterday I heard Jamie Dimon, the CEO of J.P. Morgan, he was talking to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and I listened to the speech, and I was just kind of shaking my head for some of it. But at one point he mentioned Basil II.
Ah.
And, of course, had he said that 2-3 weeks ago, I wouldn't know what he was talking about. But he mentioned Basil II, and so I went and pulled up his speech. And what he said was, Basil II, which was adopted not by U.S. banks but by European banks and U.S. investment banks, allowed for far too much leverage, and everyone who had Basil II leveraged to the hilt, and it didn't even include liquidity on how Basil II was calculated. He was complaining about Basil II. What's really interesting is he doesn't bother to mention that J.P. Morgan was an investment bank. They only became a bank back in September, last week of September, when the Federal Reserve waved their magic wand and turned them into a bank holding company. So he was there when Basil II was implemented, and he was more than happy to leverage J.P. Morgan to the hilt, to use his own words.
Yeah.
So I went to the FDIC's website, and I decided, I'm going to see exactly what J.P. Morgan Chase claims. Now for their derivatives, there's, which is going to include a lot of those credit default swaps and all that. I got it pulled up right now. $87 trillion, $751 billion, $546 million is what J.P. Morgan has on their books as derivatives.
Right.
You're going to tell me they're AAA rated?
No, every one of those is just vaporware. Every one of those.
Absolutely. The FDIC just started allowing for the derivatives listing a few months ago on the website. And I would encourage everybody to go check out any bank they're curious about because you can pull it right up. They'll tell you their assets, they'll tell you their liabilities, and they'll tell you their derivatives. And then you can just assume to put another zero on all the bad ones because the banks are reporting this, to the FDIC, so who knows how truthful it is. But if you have J.P. Morgan Chase claiming that they hold in derivatives, 6 times the total GDP of the United States economy? I mean, $87 trillion. It's just crazy.
Well, it isn't real.
And they're not alone.
You know,
it's absolutely not real. There's no money left. It's just a shell game.
Yeah, there absolutely is no money. And, you know, the reality, though, is, as we're learning now the hard way, since we've gotten off any type of metal standards, there never has been money. It's all a joke.
Cryer yesterday, he made such a cool point, and I thought, boy, isn't that true, what he said about the silver dollar?
Yeah.
You know, and if you could, that's true down to, you know, a $20 gold piece. It still take you about 2 weeks worth of wages to get a $20 gold piece, which is what it would take you to get in 1920 or 1930.
Oh, yeah.
But he said something too, and I thought, you know, it's true too. I never thought of it that way, but he's absolutely right. I have to say that the Treasury has defaulted on, or the Federal Reserve, which one you put the burden on, but they have defaulted on treasuries in a way. They defaulted on the gold standard.
Yeah.
He's right that you can't take your gold certificates back to the Federal Reserve or anybody and demand gold on demand because it's done. Roosevelt signed that away in 1933. We have defaulted.
It's much worse than defaulted, because defaulted would mean that we simply could not or were unable to pay it. What we're really talking about is the country with the stroke of a pen changes the rules. So much worse than default, they just say, okay, well, yeah, we told you that was what you'd get for it, but we don't mean it. And that to me is more scary.
Yeah, and what you said to the caller before about, you know, moving into a global banking system and a global currency, it doesn't matter what you call it. You could put anybody's picture on it.
Right.
If it's being controlled and manipulated by the same group of central banks or central bank, it doesn't matter. Absolutely. You know, I've heard people say, like commenting that we've had a world currency before. You know, the dollar was during Bretton Woods. No, the dollar wasn't, because the dollar was still backed towards gold, at least internationally, and you didn't have to be part of Bretton Woods, you know.
Exactly.
But we leave this operation the way it's going, and we don't try to buck against it, and we will end up with a BIS, a single group of, you know, we got our the head of our central bank on the board of directors of an international bank, an international banking cartel. I mean, it's just. But, you know, people, you tell them this and they feel empowered about it and they say, you know, okay, I'll look into it a little bit more. And it's such a shell game. I like to think, maybe I'm just ridiculously optimistic. I like to think it's going to fall apart sooner or later.
Well, my concern is, by the way, I think it will, but I'm not optimistic, because I think that when it falls apart, they're not going to give us our freedom. That's when we're going to get the ultimate global control, and that will exist certainly throughout my lifetime. And if you're considerably younger, maybe not throughout yours. I think there is a silver lining, but we've got to go through the true absolute control before we'll get there. It's got to fall apart on that level.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and that's why, you know, having the kind of philosophical / spiritual bend to it about, you know, you can wake up tomorrow and everything's going to be gone. We might be all investing with Bernie Madoff right now.
That's
you know,
right.
We might be all in some way or another. We think we got all this stuff, or it's in the hands of all these other people. We don't know what's up with it, but you know, I love what you do, and you come on every night and you present this arcane financial information and kind of bring it together, because it is relevant. This does follow the money. You know, this stuff does go back to something we all can understand. And if you don't understand it, like some crazy derivative, then it's not there. It doesn't exist.
No,